Well, thanks so much for joining us so early in the morning. I am thrilled to be here and actually awake, which is pretty amazing. I don't know who here went to the U2 concert last night. Was it good? Were you able to get out? I heard that there were a lot of people. Let's just say that. Hopefully you're caffeinated in some shape, form. I am thrilled to be here with these amazing community leaders who are all working with Trailhead to help empower their community. My name is Karen Jameson, and I have a privilege of being a Trailhead editor. So I work for Salesforce, yay, as of March. Before that, I was an admin for 4 years, and I really, really, really wanted to learn code. And one of the ways that I held myself accountable was to write a blog called Women Code Heroes about translating admin concepts into coding concepts, so doing that translation. But also with several other women here and some other women who weren't able to make us, except for Luann. Luann was one of our RAD founders who unfortunately couldn't keep doing it. But so we founded a program that uses Trailhead as part of our curriculum. And so I thought it would be really great to bring up other community leaders who were working in empowering our community using Trailhead as part of that core concept. So, whoops, that was too fast. You couldn't read that. Goodness, what was I thinking? So if you whittle all of this down, what it says is please base your purchasing decisions on what is currently available on the platform. So what are we going to do today? So first of all, I'm going to talk about why we think, really it was me, but they agree that Trailhead is rad for running or helping run your community-based learning. Then we're going to look at 3 different models for programs that you may be able to create in your own community or maybe join in your own community. And we'll talk with the fabulous founders of 3 examples of these programs. And then we've left, I hope, wishful thinking maybe, but I hope we've left a lot of time at the end for questions. So let's get going. So why is Trailhead so amazing for community-based learning? So the first thing is it's bite-sized. So we have trails that have modules in them, which are kind of units of learning about a particular subject. And then within them, we have units. And each of those units are 10, 15, 20, 25, sometimes 30 minutes worth of learning. So the great thing about Trailhead is that you can pull that unit's content into your program and have very mix and match, kind of choose your own adventure content to pull into your learning program. So that's really a great benefit to the community. Second, it's fun. Fun is a core value. One of our hashtags for Trailhead is Keep Trailhead Weird. So we have every month we have a Keep Trailhead Weird event where we do things like, learn line dancing or we do all sorts of stuff. So not only do we have great content that's clear and easy to understand, but it's also fun because learning, when it's fun, it's easier to keep yourself motivated. So that's great because then your learning communities can also have advantage of this great fun content. It's also interactive. Another core value of Trailhead is interaction. So your learners get hands-on into the product, learning in a very concrete way with real-life experiences. So that's another great thing. And because when learners get hands-on in the product, they retain that learning. So that's fabulous. And it's also ready-made. So if you only have a little bit of time, and we'll show you some programs here that are lower energy or amount of time to prepare for, that you can let your learners choose their own path. So we have curated content that is for admins, for developers, for business users. So, and we've curated this content also by level. So your learners can go in and pick the level that is appropriate for them. So that's really great. So hopefully you agree with me that Trailhead is rad. So we've got 3, when we were talking about these types of programs and looking at all the other, there's a lot of programs out there actually. They roughly fell into these three groups. The first group is ad hoc continuous learning, and that requires a low level of organization and helpers. An example of that is Salesforce Saturday, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And so that is where you meet regularly, but you don't have a set curriculum. Basically, people are doing what they want to do within Trailhead, earning badges. There's peer mentorship, so it's fun to learn in a group. So it's a great way of motivating each other, but also not a low level of commitment. And then the second model of program is one-off structured learning. So it's a one-time event. It does require some more organization, maybe some more volunteers that would be involved. You have a set curriculum or a goal as part of your program. An example of that, we'll hear from Annie, who is the founder of Trailhead for All. And that, and it can be virtual or in person. All of these actually can be virtual or in person. And then the last model is these multi-week, very structured programs, and we're going to hear from two fabulous co-founders of RAD Women. And that requires quite a lot of planning, and we'll talk more about that. But they meet regularly. RAD, for example, is a 10-week program. It has a very set curriculum. We use Trailhead as for prerequisites so that we're preparing our learners before we go in. I'm not going to steal all the thunder. I should stop talking about it. And we have designated mentors. So there's a lot of preparing that goes into that. So you can see there's this spectrum of different types of learning environments that you can organize. And first, I'm going to introduce Stephanie Herrera, who's a Salesforce MVP. Yay for MVPs. And she's also the senior Salesforce manager at NFP. Mm-hmm. She runs the Austin Salesforce Women in Technology group and also is the founder and leader of Salesforce Saturdays. And now I have to pass the mic because we only had four mics. Let's see if I can do this without making my voice people over there unhappy because I drop it.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Again, as she said, I'm Stephanie, and the whole concept behind Salesforce Saturday is Monday through Friday, the majority of us work for a company, and we're building the platform to fit their needs. You know, you should always be driving to the business needs. But there's so much to learn on the platform that I wanted to dedicate a day to work on what I wanted to learn, to build myself. So I decided to do it on a Saturday morning before my day got started. I let the community know, hey, I'm going to be at Starbucks. Anybody who wants to join me, I'm going to be working on my certification. Let's just grab a coffee and work on Salesforce. Started with 2 people, then moved up to 6, then 8, and then we grew out of the Starbucks space and had to move over to Coffee Bean. And now we pretty regularly have about 12 to 15 people that show up every single Saturday from 8:30 to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It's very casual. You drop in whenever you want, leave when you want, and you do anything you want. You work on Trailhead. We get a lot of newbies who get stuck on different badges, and we can help them work through that. We do career development. I'll have people come to me, there's something on the requirement that I don't know how to do. There's a Trailhead for it. Now you know how to do it. Now you can go interview for it. We do Trailheadathons. Our India group had a 12-hour Trailheadathon. Tons of super badges and 100 badges. It blows my mind. So basically, it's really easy to do. Anybody who wants to do it, you can find, like I said, coffee shop. All of them have been started in a coffee shop. Put it out to the community. So something free and easy. Other groups have had companies donate their conference rooms so they could do hands-on training and do Trailheads or do code. Start it organically. Just show up. Bring your laptop. Grab a coffee, sit down, and start talking Salesforce. Do badges together. Race each other. Make it competitive. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, you end up spending hours to there. Bring the warmth and keep it informal. You've got to find people in the community, and we all know who they are, who are friendly, who are welcoming. My 2 people were Sue Moss and Patricia Boyce. They're there every Saturday with me. They welcome people. We actually had one guy tell us, I thought you guys were a cult because you were so nice. I was waiting for you to sell me something, and you never did. And he's been coming every Saturday. He lives 20 miles out, and he comes every Saturday religiously. And again, keep it informal. There is no agenda for us. For me, it's like, I got to do what somebody else wants to do Monday through Friday. I want to do what I want to do today, and people seem to really respond to that. And be flexible as far as the format. For Austin, we meet every Saturday in person. There are other groups that do, like India has 5 groups in India. Because they're so spread out, they have to do some virtual and they do some in person. The Trailhead-a-thon was in person, but they also had people participating virtually. So again, just be flexible, bring the warmth. You don't need a lot of people to start it, and you're going to find that you're going to, not only you're going to learn Trailhead, you're going to learn code, you're going to learn more about Salesforce, but you're just going to have organic conversations about Salesforce in general. Like right now with our group, the big thing is IoT, and they're trying to figure out how can we create something in IoT. What's going to be the next Salesforce Saturday project? If you have any questions, anybody can do it. And if you're a leader in the community, you've already got too much on your plate, this is a great mentorship opportunity to create another leader and help them start a Salesforce Saturday. Tammy Eastling was my leader, and she helped me start it. So definitely just find somebody to help them start a Salesforce Saturday. There's definitely a need for it, and you can see me afterwards as well.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. You're such an amazing leader in our community, and it's a privilege to know you. So next we're going to head over to Annie Scheck, who, sorry, maybe I should put this back on. I don't know if I can put it on if I have. Can you hear me? Okay, great. It probably looks idiotic, but that's okay, you can hear me. So Annie Scheck is an amazing human being. First. Also, if you go to the admin keynote, you'll see her. She's part of the admin keynote. She is the enterprise CRM manager for, is it Spectrum Health or it's Spectrum Health? Okay. I got confused when I looked on your profile.
Yeah, we own Priority Health.
Oh, okay. Subsidiaries. It's so confusing. And she is the founder and leader of Trailhead for All. So Annie, you want to talk about your program?
I'll start with the history of it first. There's really 3 things that inspired me to start Trailhead for All. The first is reflecting on my personal experience and growth on the platform, and then thinking through, wow, I wish I would have learned Salesforce earlier. I wish I would have considered technology as a career path earlier. But you know what? No one gave me the chance. I didn't hear about it. There were no opportunities, and that's the first thing. And that leads to the second part of diversity in technology. You can't address that issue of diversity in technology without exposing this opportunity and giving access to free and fun education to others. The third thing is I've worked in nonprofits all my life, and I love nonprofits, and I love the social impact that goes with that. So one day in Flint, Michigan, because I moved there 2 years ago, I met a woman from the Flint Area Reinvestment Office, Adrienne Montague, and she said, I'm bringing in coding classes to our organization. I'm bringing it to Mott Community College. And I said, great, can I bring Salesforce? And she said, sure. And right away, 24 people signed up in 3 days, and 20 showed up, and that was the beginning of Trailhead for All. And after that, it was around Dreamforce 2015, I made the public call to action to anyone to say, hey, if you're interested, bring Trailhead to your local nonprofit. Bring Trailhead to your community center, to your after-school programs, because there are plenty of schools that lack STEM education, right? And so that's kind of how it started. It is a more structured program. It takes a little bit more resources and coordination because you need to find that nonprofit. You need to find that person working at the school that's going to help organize. But once they're in and they understand why, they will put a lot of effort into organizing it, marketing for you, pulling in their participants. Whereas you shouldn't have to market to anyone, because once you've connected with a nonprofit, they usually have the groups of people who would be interested in signing up. They usually also have grant deliverables that they need to fulfill. So if you went to a nonprofit that serves teenagers, they have grants where it's like career development. So they can spin that deliverable and say, can you talk a little bit about career development on Salesforce? And then you ease into one of the trails called Basic CRM, I think. And so that's actually the format is, you start off with setting everyone up, because that's the hardest part, I think. And then you talk a little bit about your background, why you love Salesforce, what you do, and then you lead them into a simple Trailhead module, because this is probably the first time they've ever seen or heard of CRM. And to date, we have reached 4 countries: Ethiopia, India, U.S. Most of it is in U.S. and the Netherlands. We've had probably about 20 or plus volunteers, and we've so far reached more than 250 participants. Oh. And the outcome will be, you'll see, I think, with any of these programs, is the increase in confidence level, that you can learn it. It's not as hard as you thought it would be. And I truly believe that people are pursuing Trailhead more for their career paths.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I also need to show you, we just launched a new Trailhead for Kids, or Salesforce for Kids. Yeah, so in the first module is all about the different careers that you could have in a company like Salesforce, but it goes through all the different careers. So it's...
Yeah. I'll also add that the participant age range that we've done so far is between, I'd say, 10 years old to up to 65.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Lisa Tenorio, maybe she moved. She was here, but she wrote that trail with Chris Duarte, so we'll hook you up. And last, a program very near and dear to my heart, RAD Women. I'm going to not talk about it, but I am going to introduce Melissa Persick, who is the lead or senior developer at Stanford Children. And she is in charge of our curriculum development. And then there's there's Angela Mahoney, who is another Salesforce MVP. She runs her own consulting business, iCloud Salesforce, and she is in charge of recruiting our coaches. So I'll let them talk.
Okay. We definitely have the most structured approach of how to incorporate Trailhead in some learning initiatives. And this was born out of an idea to give women, because we're directed towards women, a safe, supportive community environment to start looking at the programmatic side of Salesforce. I don't know how it was like for any of you, but I know when I, way back when, was trying to figure out what was the difference between Visual Force and Apex, and I did have to learn that. It was really difficult to find resources on that. So I would ask my developer to explain it to me, and I'd have a simple question, and he'd give me this answer that I completely did not understand. And then he'd say, "Did you get it?" And I'd just back out and say, "Yeah, I got it." I had no idea. So what we wanted to do is make sure that we could provide an environment where women could ask these types of questions without feeling intimidated or they've got dumb questions, and then walk them through a regimented curriculum to answer these questions, have our learners do different exercises that we've provided, leverage Trailhead to learn. There's a lot of self-learning in it, and then bring it all together with a final project. And I think Melissa will talk a little bit about that. What makes us different, aside from the high involvement of planning that's necessary, is we've got coaches that we rely on. So it's not one person getting up and saying, "Let's go do these 6 modules, boom, let's do it." They're directed through mentor coaches that lead through the different exercises. Did you get your Trailhead exercises done? Let me answer the questions that you had on your homework. So we also have a huge focus on recruiting and maintaining developers, senior, generally Salesforce developers, and if they're a little bit younger on the platform, then we'll pair them with a senior developer to help give these classes. And we're trying to keep the time commitment low. We don't want to burn out our coaches, but we find that it also gives a way to have people learn mentor skills as well, because it can be intimidating to stand up in front of a group of people. So this is a nice kind of an easier way in to give back to the community, help other women learn, answer questions in a supportive environment, and then rely heavily on the curriculum that we wrote based on our experience and what we feel is important to learn. So I'll turn that over to Melissa to talk about that.
Yeah, so the curriculum and the tools. So when you have a longer, more structured program like RAD Women, which is over 10 weeks, and especially in our case where we're not personally delivering the content, we want to have something that's repeatable. So having a really strong curriculum, having great tools and materials is super important so that we can go out in the community, recruit coaches who know what they're talking about and are also able to walk learners through in that supportive environment. I mean, I'll just say personally for me, I don't have a CS background, and when I started on the platform, I was interested in getting into coding, but I didn't actually know how to do it. And I was lucky enough to have mentors at my work who were like, "Yeah, you can do this, go do this." And I had someone I could go to and ask questions and just run with it. And so we're trying to build that same kind of supportive environment for people who may not have that at work, if maybe they're solo or maybe they just don't have that opportunity. So the curriculum is super important so that we can go out, we can recruit volunteer coaches, and then we can have a consistent, repeatable experience. because we want to have these classes be able to run, without our direct involvement in every single one, so that we can grow and that we know our students are going to come out of it with the knowledge and the tools that they need to move forward in their careers. So one of the tools I wanted to highlight in terms of building a really good curriculum is making sure that you have feedback loops. Getting input from your learners and your coaches when you're doing a program from the long term, when you're going to be doing it several times, is super important. And I'll give an example from RAD. For the first round of RAD, for the inaugural one, I was a coach. And we had a great set of materials. We had a solid curriculum to start with. But at the end of the course, it was also really clear from the feedback we'd been getting from surveys, from coach calls, that learners needed something more hands-on. They needed to be able to get in, interact with the code, run it. They felt like they'd gotten introduced to a lot of ideas, but they didn't necessarily know how to just go and actually implement it on their own. So when I started managing the curriculum before the second round, it was really clear to me what my marching orders was, which was how do we pull people into the code and give them the hands-on experience. And so I went to the platform and I built a code base for RAD. So we have a code base now, and if you look at it, there will be classes that look like week 1 exercises. And a method in there might be intro to lists or intro to variables. And students now have this code. They can hop into Execute Anonymous in the developer console, which we take them through, and run it and see in the debug log what it's doing, get in there, edit it, save it, and see it run again. And the real power there is that everyone has the same code base to start with. So coaches and learners get this package, and they spin up a developer org, they install that package. Now everyone has the same materials, and they can watch their coaches running the code. They can do it on their own. And at the end of the course, they have this code base that they've built on. They have their homework in there. They have all of the prompts and the things that they followed that they can keep building on. And so it's a really fantastic tool. We've gotten great feedback on it, and it's a direct result of listening to what our learners and coaches were telling us. And so, the other leaders of this program are great about getting those surveys out, being on people to fill them out, doing coach calls, and just getting that feedback, because your program's going to get better and better as long as you keep those feedback loops open.
I think that is a really, really, really good point. And I'm so privileged to be on stage with these amazing people. I'm just thrilled. So you've heard now about 3 different models of programs, educational programs that you can run through Trailhead, and it as either the entire curriculum or part of the curriculum. But we wanted to take a step back and look at some big picture kind of tips for what you can do to run any kind of program. So the first thing we came up with was you have options. If you have a little bit of time, then maybe try one of the programs that's more you show up, and other people show up, and that is your involvement, is showing up. And that's a big thing, to just show up. Somebody needs to be the person who is forming that catalyst for growth. So be that catalyst. The next is you can be the learner. I mean, I think that, I don't know if everybody else would agree, but I learned a lot more as a program leader than I ever would have if I was just a participant. I mean, being a participant is great, but being a leader or a volunteer in one of these programs, really hold yourself accountable. Make sure that you continue to show up. So that's a really great thing. And Melissa started on this. We started our first program as a pilot program, and it was very helpful because we didn't want to put it out there and do something that maybe wasn't so effective with a lot of people. We'd rather learn with a smaller group, iterate through. You're not going to get it 100% right the first time, the second time, or the third time. I mean, we're continuing to grow. We've run the beginning program 3 times now, and I feel like now it feels like it's stable and we can move on to the next level. Next, consider the type of program that you're trying to run and look at what you need for that kind of program. So I've listed some options there, but there are a whole bunch of other things. Like, do you need a quiet space? One of the things that we learned in the last round was that some people were doing it on their lunch hour or in a cubicle, and maybe they weren't letting everybody else know that this is what they were doing. And so they weren't able to actually communicate, and that's such a big part of our program is the interaction. So we're going to add a new thing. You have to make sure that you find a place where you can communicate as part of your program. So that's something that we learn as we go along. Build a really good team. You can do these things alone sometimes, but it's just not as much fun, and you will eventually not want to do it anymore. because it takes a lot of commitment. Even if you just turn up every Saturday, that's still every Saturday. So I would say even if you're on the lower end of organizational needs, always find people who can help you volunteer or take over when you want to take, for example, a vacation. Everybody wants to take a vacation. You don't want to always be there every Saturday. So it's good to tag team that. And then last, don't be afraid to put it out there. Amazing things can happen. I wouldn't have imagined where we would have gone with RAD. I mean, Trailhead for All and Salesforce Saturday has just taken up across the world. And who knew that meeting in a cafe at Starbucks every Saturday would be, in multiple countries and affect so many people. So that's really great. So, oh my goodness, we have actually almost 5 minutes for questions. But I wanted to ask actually a question first, and that is, I know why I wanted to create RAD, because I wanted to learn. What do you get out of it as an organizer?
I'll start. I get a couple of things out of it, actually. I grew up in a volunteering background. My mom, we did forced volunteering when I was little. So it was always a part of my life. And I like being around other people and helping them learn, open doors. For me, it was a struggle in high school to get involved in science. I shied away from it and self-selected out of IT. I don't want that to happen to other people, regardless of where they are in their career or their education. So this is a really great opportunity that fulfills my need to help other people avoid, some of the mistakes I may have made when I was deciding what I want to do. And you get to affect somebody in a good way. I don't volunteer at my church. I volunteer at the Church of Salesforce because I joke, but it's true. It's just a really neat way that I get to give back to the community and help open doors for others.
That's awesome. I think I already talked about, why I'm so passionate about this learning model. But in terms of what I get out of it, I mean, building a curriculum has been an amazing experience. It's something I'd never done before, for sure. And, they say you don't really know something until you've taught it. And that is super, super true. Trying to figure out, okay, how do we pace these things? What's the right order? What are the basics you need to move on to the next thing? And then bubbling that up into materials that someone else could take and deliver has taught me an enormous amount. And we're looking at developing the intermediate curriculum next. And so I've got more challenges and more learning ahead, but it's fantastic.
It'll be good.
The question is, what do I get from it, right? I think it's a lot of gratification and satisfaction. You feel satisfied and fulfilled when you pass on knowledge to someone else. And sometimes because it's a one-time event, you can't really see, unless you track them long-term, as a lot of nonprofits do with participants, one-time events, you can't see it, but even in 2 hours, you will see that change of confidence level. You will see that they have less fear. You'll see whether, how engaged they are. And just even seeing if it happens to one person, it will mean the world. So it's that gratification that I get. That's why I do it.
As for me, can you guys hear me? Okay, there we go. As for me, I don't have a college degree. I went a semester and a half to college. Necessity, had to go work. So Salesforce has actually given me a life. My career has grown rapidly in the last 4 years. So I wanted to be able to help other people take that path, show that you have options. You can come together as a community, that we can help you find jobs, help you build the skill set. So for me, I just wanted to give back and show people, hey, there's a way. And we've been doing that with Salesforce Saturdays. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. So questions from the audience? What do you want to know from these amazing, amazing people? Or about programs? No questions? Okay.
Hi, I was just wondering what you guys thought was the best age group for a kid coding class.
I'll say that I was very surprised. We had Shauna Hughes. I think she's an MVP as well. She is the Diversity Women in Tech leader. She brought it to 10 and 11-year-olds, and based off of her blog and the pictures, the kids were very engaged. So I was very surprised. I think it probably would, personally, I think starting in high school would be the easiest. They're hungry to learn. They're hungry for internships. It's like they're at that ripe age to pick up learning about businesses too, and they're thinking about college, so they're more motivated to pick it up.
And we have a course now for teaching middle school and high schoolers about Salesforce. And we have two projects. One is building a lemonade stand, and one that is building a battle station app. That is also would be great. I would love to see how we can build that into Trailhead for All or some other things. But you,
Yeah, I wanted to mention, I'll take a slightly different take on this and bring it a little bit outside of the Salesforce world. I'm a mother of two daughters. They're younger, and I've been using the code.org curriculum for Hour of Code for 3 years. And we actually made a code academy at my kids' elementary school, and we started in first grade. No, they're not learning how to type, but they're learning about loops, and they're learning, move forward, things like that, 3 units, so that they can start getting the fundamentals in a really declarative environment. Because I'm really into this. Studies show that girls in particular will start self-selecting out in middle school, so you got to get them early, and then you can start transitioning over to the Trailhead module. So it kind of depends on what your goal is, but there's something for every level of kids out there.
so I think we have time for one more question. Oh, we have an eager person. Yay.
Hey guys, I tried to make it, but I came all the way from the airport. Will you guys, and I just only made for the last 5 minutes with Q&A session. Will you guys be able to share your presentation on the chatter feed? Because we have.
I'm gonna post it as soon as we're done. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to let's give our amazing community leaders a good round of applause. And thank you so much for turning up right after you two, very early in the morning. I applaud you all. And we'll be out there, and we'll be happy to answer questions. And thank you so much.